It's a good idea.
Yeah, this is important because
The next draw is the Purim raffle. We've just had the Purim raffle. The price for the Purim was 50% of the amount, which was about 1,400 shekels. So 700 shekel prize. There's the draw.
Okay, here we go. And I don't know why it keeps coming off. It keeps coming off.
Myers 15.
It's that we play games. Hey, Jeanette Weinshell.
Oh, oh, thank you. I was hoping maybe.
Now you see that? A little extra money for Pesach.
Thank you.
That's great. That is great.
Thank you. How do we get the money now though? Since I'm not around the corner.
How do we get the money?
Other ranges go up.
That's it. You can. It's in the good hands, literally and figuratively, of Stanley Ehrlich. You can always rely on him.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a lot of great questions that were sent in. I don't know why my video keeps going off.
Yeah.
I'm nervous that people are going to think that it keeps going. I put it on, it goes off. I don't know if that means we have a weak bandwidth here. I don't think so.
We see you now.
No, but it keeps going off. It just goes off. Okay. I don't want anyone to think that me and Stan had any funny business, monkey business going on during the raffle.
Yeah, I didn't see you draw it, you know.
I know. I see Edie's looking at us very nervous. Anyways, it's really nice to see everybody. And Mi'at Hashem, we'll continue to see each other Zoom and Mi'at Hashem soon in person. Meher of Yameinu, speedily in our days.
Amen.
And Edie Shkoy for organizing this. It's great, not just that we can learn together, but just to be able to see each other is wonderful. And we got to keep making sure we find good ways to meet, whether it's in person or live or through the Zoom. It's very, very important. So Yasha Koach. Yasha, so we have a nice list of questions. And Shkoyach for forwarding for organizing it and forwarding it to me and Ward as well.
Yeah.
And, people are asking what's unique this year, of course, is Shabbos. So we'll go through the Shabbos, what to do on Shabbos. Basically, you have an interesting situation, right? What do we have on Shabbos? We have, the setup is that you can't do the B'dika, so you do the B'dika early, okay? And we do that on Thursday night. Regarding B'dika, it's important to know. It's important for everyone to know that this B'dika is not like this mitzvah B'dika at night is not like other mitzvahs at night. Most mitzvahs at night begins at night and it goes through the whole night or to midnight. Shema every night. Megillah Esther. So you go to the first reading, the second reading. You read at night. You're good to go. And any mitzvah, the earlier you do, the better. That's called zrizim makdim lamitzvos. You do a mitzvah with alacrity and enthusiasm. You rush to do it. But even a bris milah here in Israel, in America, we never did this. You have bris milahs 2, 3 in the afternoon. Because it works out better for this reason, for that reason. But it's not zrizas. Zrizas is to do it at the first chance, which in America, we do that better than here. It's interesting. Anyways, but that's not the same B'dika night. Next Thursday night, it's not like, okay, I can do it at 6:52. I'm just making up a number, whatever nightfall is. I can do it 7:30 every night. When do we do Marim or 9 o'clock? That's totally fine. Not B'dika. B'dika, the very time of the mitzvah is Tchilat Halayla. That's the time. It's not all night, and the earlier the better. The time is Tchilat Halayla, so it's important to know. So we're going to be doing it Thursday night instead of Friday. What?
What time?
What time is Seis on Thursday night?
When are we moving the clocks? Are we moving them Thursday night? Yeah.
I think the clock's afterwards, so Thursday night is sunset. Stan's going to tell us in a moment. So we're going to keep moving along until he tells me what time sunset is. Okay, whatever sunset is, you add on about a half hour or so, 25 minutes. And so you want to do...
From 6:31.
So that's say, so what is sunrise, sunset next week?
5:55.
Oh, okay, so 5:55 Thursday night. So really, normally we do Saturday night, we do 35 minutes after Shabbos for Malacha. So by 6:30 sharp, you should be doing the Medika. Okay, right then. Now, so that's unique because it's the only time that you do it before the 14th and you make a bracha. If you go away a week and you make or so you do a Bedika before you leave, it's not a bracha, only on the 14th. But you can't do the 14th, push to the 13th. That's when the bracha is. That's when you do the Bedika. That's Thursday night, and you can eat your chametz. Really, you could burn your chametz all Friday day, morning, and afternoon because the only reason we normally rush is because the Zman Isser is coming. But here, the Zman Isser is only on Shabbos. But the Ramah says that, you know what, we're always in the habit of burning it by 11 o'clock or whatever the time is. So do that this year as well. So you don't get confused. Where next year you'll say, oh yeah, I remember last year I burned it at 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, that was an exception. So the Ramah said the Shulchan Aruch says it's a good practice to do it, and most people are going to be burning in the earlier part of the day, not in the afternoon, even though technically it could be all right. We don't do that. Okay? Then you go ahead and you the same firstborn have siyum. Some Shulchan Aruch brings down a possibility that the firstborn fast should even apply to ladies every year, not just this year, every year. Okay, because firstborn girls were killed in Mitzrayim as well, and therefore we should remember. They should remember the miracle as well, and they should either fast or go to the siyum. And some were like that, others were not. Ramah says we don't have to be stringent like that. And then you prepare for Pesach. How do you prepare for Pesach? So on Friday you don't do bittul, you just get rid of the chametz that you're not going to have on Shabbos. Technically, you can have chametz foods on Shabbos, but it's a big balagan. So the only thing that we keep for Shabbos is pita, which don't have a lot of crumbs. The fresh pita has very few crumbs, and everything else is Pesach. And then we just have it on the regular kalim, on plastic, whatever works for everybody. We have a meal Friday night with the pita, and then you have a meal in the morning. You want to have it before the Zman is of Isser, which is 10:50ish or so. So you want to have the meal then, and then that's it. You can't have another meal during the day, so we rely on the opinions that your third meal is in the afternoon, is fruits or meats or chickens and stuff like that. You don't want to stuff yourself in any way, so you have a nice appetite for the night. And in the morning, when you finish eating, you flush any bread down the toilet, and you say kol chamir, any chametz in my possession, say it in English, so you have to understand what you're saying. And then you're taking care of your mitzvah of Sudash Shlishi, you're taking care of your mitzvah of Bior, getting rid of chametz. There are those that say that the 3 meals have to be spread out: Erev, Vokev, and Tzarayim, night, morning, and afternoon. So therefore, you have to have your third meal in the afternoon. And since it can't be bread, so it would be your fruits and drink, fruits and vegetables and meat and chicken. There are those that say you can have both meals in the morning time. So those that go ahead and dami early minyan, they'll have the first meal at 8ish, 8:15, take a little break, bench at 9ish, whatever it is, and then at 9:30 or so, 9:45, have another meal. So they have 3 bread meals that way. It's a chumrah. A person wants to do it. I would call it a nice chumrah. Okay? And so that's basically the Shabbos schedule. We sent out the times in the email. And regarding times of selling, so we're going to be selling next week every night and every morning, starting Sunday after Shachris and Sunday after Marav, and go through the week that way. We have hard copies. Someone who is not going out yet, so I will send out, the electronic forms to do, and we'll have a shiur explaining how to do it. But anyone who could make it in person, it's better to go ahead and do the shtar that way. It's kosher the other way too, but it's nice to come. And if anyone wants to give something to Laman Achai, it's always a nice thing as well. So
What time is selling comments?
every night, starting Sunday, every morning after Shachris at 7, and every night after Marav at 9:15.
Okay, thank
What
you.
about the ladies or not Shachris and Maariv? Is there,
So, I mean, so the ladies have traditionally come at 9:15. We finish Marv and everyone leaves, and it's just people who are doing the sale. If that time doesn't work, we can work out other times. In the past, it always worked out then. But if that time doesn't work, we could offer additional time. Let me know what other times work, worth you. But in the past, that's what we've done, and it worked. But if there's any special case, let me know, and we'll figure it out. Okay, so that's Shabbos. That's Shabbos, and it doesn't have to be a pressure time at all. The only thing we learned in the afternoon shir today about mincha. So, do you have to have mincha before you have shalosh shuddas? The answer is no. The only time you want to try to have mincha is when you have a big meal. So it's proper to have a mincha before the meal, but you can have a little meal in the afternoon. So if we just have a mincha marav later on Shabbos afternoon, so you can have your fruits, vegetables, meat, chicken, whatever it is, in honor of the what's it called? In honor of shalosh shuddas, and then you go ahead, you go to mincha and marav, and that's fine. Okay, so that's the Shabbos schedule. Any questions about the Shabbos schedule?
Well, I wanted to know why we have to burn chametz, because we still have it in the house.
Ah, very good. Very good. So, so burning the chametz is a mitzvah to burn chametz. Is a mitzvah to go ahead and burn chametz. You have to get rid of the chametz. There's different opinions of what you have to do exactly. Okay, you have to actually burn it, just get rid of it. We're machmir, you could just get rid of it. And this year we're flushing it all down the toilet. And that's all you need to do. But we're machmir, like Rabbi Yehuda, and those opinions that say you have to actually burn it. And that's the mitzvah, biur chametz. So all the chametz that you're getting rid of, don't get rid of it by just disposing of it. Get rid of it by what? Get rid of it by doing the mitzvah of sreifa. Ein biur chametz ella sreifa. Fine. So we do that. And let's say, Edie's asking, but we still have it. Let's say you burn the chametz 8:30. If you go on the typical Erev Pesach, you already smell 8:30, the burning is going on, even though you might have 2 more hours, 2.5 more hours. Okay? So you have the kids out there, because kids love fires. Every kid is a pyromaniac, as we all know. Okay, just take a look at Lag BaOmer. Last year was a nice Lag BaOmer because they didn't have all those bonfires that didn't burn down all the Arabs and all the other stuff around. But, kids love this stuff. And people do it at 8:39. But wait a second. If you do it so early, you have an hour and a half. Maybe you could still eat chametz, which is fine. You don't need the burning of the chametz. Edie's pointing out, doesn't have to be that when I burn the chametz, that ends my involvement in the chametz. It doesn't have to be. It's just we get rid of the chametz that I'm not using through burning. But wait, I still have some chametz I left. So it could be on a typical year, another 30 minutes that I'm going to have my one last bowl of Cheerios. Or in this year, it's going to be for another 20 hours. I'm still going to have 2 pitas, or 2 pitas at night, 2 pitas in the morning, and maybe a third set of 2 pitas if I squeeze 2 meals in the morning. So eating the biur chametz doesn't have to be the the conclusion of my involvement in chametz. Okay, it never is. I can always have chametz after, but normally it's going to be what's it called? A few minutes after. Now it's going to be a few hours that I have after. Okay. So that's Shabbos. We have the Shabbos Hagadol Drosha, because it's a rushed kind of day and so much going on. We have the Shabbos Hagadol Drosha this Shabbos. The Shabbos Hagadol Drosha is usually, most minhagim around the world, is it's 2 parts, practically getting ready, going through the halachas of Pesach, which is endless. And a little inspiration for the Chag as well. So this year's topic, it's going to be that same combination of halacha and hashkafa. It's called the Taste of Freedom, Pesach, a Taste of Freedom. And so we'll have a good time. That's an hour before Mincha, I think 3:55. This Shabbos, whoever can make it. Zoom, unfortunately, not quite an option yet on Shabbos. We didn't work that one out. So that's Shabbos, and that's the burning on Friday. Any questions on that before we move on to other questions? Okay, so now we'll go through the list of questions, okay? So Pesach cleaning, and if for whatever reason, what time is it now? Okay, oh, what a beautiful time on my clock. You know what it says? 1948. Oh, that's a beautiful time. So 1948, so we have plenty of time. If for whatever reason Mariv comes and we didn't finish everything, don't worry. Everyone has my WhatsApps, my call, my phone, and my email. And if it's so many we don't cover, we can just have another shiur. So, I'm around. I still have school. So daytime's still busy, but Sunday afternoon, I'm done already. So, there's be plenty of time to catch up. WhatsApp, email, call, whatever. Okay. So Pesach.
Rabbi?
Yes.
A quick question about the burning. Sorry, maybe I missed it out. It came in late.
Do you have a note, Shimon?
Sorry?
Do you have a late note?
Yeah, I'll send it to Edie. I often find that people come to burn chametz, like they bring like the whole cupboard of chametz. So what happens is that it doesn't all burn. So they put it on the fire and then they walk away. And then you have like real chametz that's still left over there. Is that a problem? Or once you've symbolically...
Very good point. Excellent point. So they, no, we didn't discuss it. So yeah, it's great that you mentioned it. To me, it's more of an environmental problem than a halachic problem. The mitzvah of biur is to go ahead and get rid of your chametz. So theoretically, before this man, you could just throw it all into the bins and the garbage bins outside. But we machmir and try to have at least a kazayis that you burn to fulfill the mitzvah of burning chametz according to Rabbi Yehuda, getting rid of chametz according to Rabbi Yehuda. So if you got a kazayis that you burned, that's fine. Stam to bring a loaf and only a little bit of it's going to get burned. It's not doing anything. And then you're just leaving it out. Now you got rid of it. It's not in your possession. You don't own it. And Eliza Bloch didn't take possession of it either because she doesn't want it. The Uriah doesn't want it. So it's just Hefker sitting out. So there's no Isser, but it's just why have a messy city any more than is needed? Just do the minimal that you have to do for the mitzvah of burning. And just stop to have chametz all around. There's no benefit. So I don't know if there's any isser in doing that. It's just not wise. Not wise. I think it's just have your kazayas that you're going to burn. And if you want to burn more, fine, but be responsible and really do the burning. Don't just throw it into this little flame, which is just going to get singed at best. And you'll end up not doing anything. You won't even get a kazayas burn. So I agree with you, Shimon. I don't think it's a great idea.
Doesn't help.
We put it on now.
Very good. And Stanley's saying when people throw gasoline on, and so that's not so simple because it will burn it, but by putting the gas on first, you already destroyed it that way. So then you don't even get the mitzvah of destroying it through burning because you've already made it.
Why do you put it on?
You're on my way. I want to watch it.
Okay. So any questions on that? So Shimon, did that answer your question? Yeah? Okay, great. Now, Pesach cleaning, searching, not cleaning. Someone asked, what exactly are we doing? So regarding...
Put it on now. Right?
Putting it on now.
Should I mute everybody? Hold on. After I mute everybody, Rabbi, you're gonna have to turn yourself back on. Okay, turn yourself back on, Rabbi.
Okay, great. So, you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Very good. Very good. So someone's asking about, what's the idea that you have the Pesach cleaning and you have the Pesach search. So in theory, that night you go ahead and you do your whole Pesach preparation that night. You do your bedika that night. The Shulchan Aruch says it's kol hakavod. If before you do your bedika, you do a little cleaning, but the idea of weeks and weeks of cleaning, that is a foreign idea. It's good, it's bad, it's a little of everything. If it's just a time to clean and get a little spring cleaning in, and as long as everyone is chilled, fine. Mix up halacha and minhag and spring cleaning and all that. But if there's going to be tension in the house, just forget about it. That is not a good chumrah at all. One of my favorite phrases that I've coined, I'm still waiting for it to become world famous, is chumrah with chachma. You want to be machmir, do it with chachma, wisdom. Don't have chumras that are just killing people. And there's tension in houses before Pesach. And I'll give a classic example. So a family where there's a lot of children around. So you have in the playroom closets and closets of toys. Okay, and you have one closet where the kids use. You have another 8 closets that haven't been looked at for the last 25 years, but still they are used here and there. So there could be chametz that needs to be checked. And you could spend hours and hours and hours going through it. And if it's really an active house, so there really could be chametz in there and the kids going in and out, and it's totally subjective. If you have a yucky household where, like they have dogs that are trained, they have electric leashes, they don't leave the house boundary because there's a shock system put in the soil, right? You familiar with that? So you have a household where your kids are trained. They know they walk out of the kitchen, it's as if they're going to get a shock, and they'll never leave the kitchen without permission. So fine, you don't need to check all your toys and everything else, but that's not most places. So you're going to have to check 10 closets of toys. And that's hours and hours and hours, because it could be real chametz, real pretzels and Cheerios and stuff like that. So that could be hours, literally hours and hours and hours. Or you could, now that's fine. That's not a crazy chumrah. That's what you have to do. On the other hand, if you just go ahead and you think, you know what? There's one closet that I use a lot, or these 10 toys that we're going to use this Pesach. I'm going to move them all to this one closet, and I'll clean this one closet well. And what will I do with all the other closets? Just put a tag on it and sell it. No, but the selling, it's a big leniency, and I don't know. It is a big leniency. To me, be machmir, be stringent on what mitzvah? Shalom bayis, hatalecha kamocha. And if you're at work and the wife's home cleaning and you're going to save it 10, 20 hours, that is the mitzvah hatalecha kamocha and shalom bayis, in my opinion. And be machmir on that and just sell the closets. Okay, that's what I think. So what are we checking for? We're checking for some say kazayis, only kazayis. You don't need to be machmir on the small piece, less than that. And others say, no, any meaningful piece. A Cheerio is not a kazayis, but it's a meaningful piece that you can come to eat. Is the bedika because you're going to come to eat something? So then even a Cheerio we're afraid of. Is the bedika because you want to make sure you don't own chametz? So the real issue of owning the rice is a kazayis. So there's an argument, and the famous question comes up: do I have to check my svarim that I eat during the year, and I have it on my table? Well, if I have to check for anything, then I have to check. If it's only kazayis, I don't need to check. So checking is one mitzvah, a bedika, where to begin with, do it with chachma. Don't be more machma than you need to be. If you could close up rooms and closets and sell them, if you're not going to be there on Pesach in those rooms and closets, just lock them up and sell them. And yes, it's a leniency, but it's a stringency in shalom bayis. And those areas that you have to check, you have to really check. But now, if that's the case, if the real bedika is at night, Thursday night, so all my cleaning that I'm doing before, that doesn't help. The Shulchan Aruch openly says it does not help. That I still have a mitzvah to check on Thursday night. So how does my spring cleaning, or let's say it's not spring cleaning, it's a real proper Pesach cleaning in my closets, going above my my closets are where the dishes are in my dining room, that's spring cleaning. But cleaning out the toys and the cabinets, that's serious. So how do I clean that out and then not really do a proper badika and undo everything on Pesach night? So the answer is, and some say, yeah, you have to still do badika. But others say that once you've cleaned out the whole thing totally, you've emptied the whole closet. So now this place is better than any badika you can ever do. It's now defined as a place shalom machnisin bo chametz, and the chametz is not brought in there. And then all you need to do on Thursday night is you go around your house. That closet, those 5 closets are sold. Good. That closet, it's not a chametz closet. It's been totally stripped down as if it's new. Good. That's taken care of. And then you don't need to spend 5 hours on that badika there because you already done it beforehand. Okay, so that's badika. So that you don't come to eat or that you don't come to own. That's bedika. And then there is koshering. It's a separate mitzvah totally. It's a totally separate mitzvah koshering. Okay? So.
Got an echo now.
There's echo. Well, I think from Stan might be that yours is on.
Oh, his is off.
Okay, good. So it's 2 separate worlds. So someone asked about that, the cleaning and searching. It's 2 separate mitzvos totally. Okay, the koshering is a new world. Now I have to make sure that my kitchen, everything is not going to go ahead and have any chametz get into my food through the cooking process, through actually the counters and stuff like that. So the basics of the kitchen will go through quickly, and then any specifics you'll ask, okay? The oven, if you have self-cleaning oven, that's the best. That's the best. Anything that could withstand that heat, you just throw it in there, and that's the best koshering you could possibly have. You don't even have to clean things off. It's 1,000-degree Fahrenheit, 900-degree Fahrenheit. It's amazing. So, that's good to go. You could take your grates from your stove, just throw it in there. You have to make sure they don't have rubber that could get destroyed and that they can withstand it. Manufacturers often will say, don't put things in the self-cleaning oven. You have to find out, is it because it's going to get discolored, or is it because it's going to end up just melting and it won't withstand it? You have to just find out the facts. But from a halachic standpoint, self-cleaning oven is great halachically. Just practically, if you leave grates in, they might end up getting lose the glow, lose the silver, the coating and stuff like that. But that's not a halachic issue. That's more of an aesthetic issue. And if it's the husband who's doing it, and then the wife comes home, there's a shalom bayis issue. That's a separate discussion, not for this shiur. But it is halachically excellent self-cleaning oven. The only thing you have to take into account is just to clean well the front part, the glass part, because that doesn't pick up the full heat. You have to use an easy off of a good kind of cleaner for that. And as I said, you can throw anything in there. It's kosher, but you have to just make sure it's going to work. That it practically won't get ruined. If you don't have self-cleaning oven, so then you have to clean it off very well with a good. In America, we had easy off. In Israel, is there something compared to easy off? Has to be a good caustic oven cleaner. It's got to be something close to easy off, whatever it is. Clean it off well. You want to get all the gook and the grease off as much as you can, whatever's removable. And then you put it on the highest setting, 50 minutes or so. It's on the highest setting. And that can even kosher the stuff inside the racks as well, because the racks, we usually don't put food right on the racks. They usually have the tray on the racks. So the racks don't need the highest level of koshering. And therefore, we rely on that to kosher the oven. So even if you don't have, self-cleaning, which is the ideal, we're still lenient. But in that case, you should wait 24 hours, not use it for 24 hours, and then you clean it that way. Okay.
What about I have a convection oven and you can't get into the fan?
So the convection oven, it's good to go ahead, and while it's running, or at least, you probably can't put your hand in there while it's, when you first put it on, while it's running, just spray some easy off kind of thing in there to try to clean it out that way.
My oven says I'm not allowed to put cleansers on that surface, and it gets splattered. But so I don't use my oven anymore. I bought another oven because I
so that's great.
clean.
So that avoids the whole thing also. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, and then the stove tops is the racks, you have to just kosher the racks, 15 minutes each. Either you could put them in the oven, or you could go ahead and just put a pot on for 15 minutes onto each rack and kosher it that way. You have to clean it off well. Usually we cover the pot underneath the racks. That's not absolutely crucial. It's just a practical thing too, because anything falls down onto that area, if you didn't kosher it, you didn't cover it, you can't eat it, which is what you have to do sometimes, just throw it out. Let's say you have one of the new fad kind of stovetops with that glass, fancy glass kind of thing, and the manufacturer tells you you can't put tinfoil on it, it's going to break it, and you have to know each kind that you have. So in such a case, you can only kosher your stove, the grate, you can't kosher that area. So you have to just be careful not to drip down on it and bounce up, and anything falls on it, just chuck it out. Okay, but if you could cover that area with metal to a tinfoil, that's the best. If anything falls, you just could pick it up and eat it, and you don't need to worry about anything else. And then, of course, you clean well all the knobs and all that fun kind of stuff. Okay. Regarding the countertops. So if you could just get some kind of covering for it, some heavy duty tinfoil, or you cut, those rubber things that they sell around town for not that much money. It's a size, so that's easy. If it's stone, you could do Eroi. It's not a perfect solution when you do Eroi. It's not. Covering with the tinfoil is actually better halachically. Anyone know why? Tinfoil, because everyone does Eroi, it's fine, but it's not perfect. Anyone know why? So first of all, when people do Eroi, a lot of times they mess up because they stop pouring for the first few seconds, it's really hot. Because it stops bubbling real quick. When I do Eroi for hot water, I keep it hooked up electrically, the cord, to the urn. So that's bubbling the whole time, and then just use a spout. So it's bubbling. So that part is good. But a lot of times what happens is that's one problem. If you don't do it that way, the water's not bubbling after a few seconds. And two, you put water on, then it moves all over the counter. And then when you get to that next spot, there's already water there. So the water's not making a direct hit with the dry counter. It's making a direct hit with a counter which has water on it, which is already not hot anymore. That water cools down so fast. Within seconds, it's already down to not a hot temperature anymore. So it's not so easy practically to really cache the countertops. And halachically, there's a problem. Let's go ahead and say that I went ahead, I had hot cholent. I'm scooping out the hot cholent, okay, from the pot. So let's say there's something called Leil Shishi. I don't know if you're familiar with Leil Shishi. So you have your Friday night cholent, then you have Leil Shishi cholent, where people sometimes in the stores, they sell Leil Shishi Thursday night, middle of the night. Yeshivas have Leil Shishi cholent. It's become a big thing. And Meatball, I think one time had Leil Shishi cholent to go and take out and have a good time Thursday night. So you have this Leil Shishi cholent, you're scooping it out, and the hot steaming beans, barley hits the countertop. So that's hot chametz, and that's called the davar gush. It's a solid mass. What is more potent, the davar gush, the solid mass of the barley, or the hot water that's poured out from the tea kettle? Which is stronger halachically? The davar gush. So which means that you didn't really kosher the way that you're supposed to, because it's kabolo kach polto. However, something got absorbed, that's how it's taken out. And you didn't do the perfect job. Poskim are lenient, who says that for sure something fell, and most of the use, of course, throughout the year was not that way, and they have different leniencies. But if you go ahead and you just cover with tinfoil or with some kind of rubber thing, or mats and stuff like that, that is ideal in many ways. The only thing you might say it's not ideal is kavod yontif. Maybe you could say that it's not the most beautiful kavod yontif. Why? It just doesn't look nice. That your whole kitchen is like, a silver foil kitchen. You have these 10,000 shekel granite covers, and now you have 50 shekel worth of tinfoil. It's just not nice. Whatever you do is fine. Whatever you've done till now is fine. Just important to know the different halachic factors involved.
But
So
I thought granite doesn't absorb. That's why you can kosher it.
No, we hold it stone. Right now, we hold it stone that absorbs, but it can be koshered. Like metal. Stone, metal, and wood could be koshered. People don't know that about wood. Wood could be koshered too. The only thing with wood is if it has like crevices in it that has gook in it, then you can't kosher. But not because inherently it can't be kosher, just because practically you can't get out the gook. So,
Rabbi Myers,
yes.
tell you, Ezra, we have something called silestone. And then Rabbi Blumenkrantz, all the shalom, he said that was kosher. We even have a certificate. He said it was kosher, with cleaning it very well and putting some hot water on and so forth. But he said it was a kosher material.
Yeah, very good. That's great. So Rabbi Blumenkrantz Zatzal checked out that stone, and I've seen that as well. So that's kosher. But so you have to go ahead and check. There's a lot of new materials that come out every year. You have to just see if Soman, Rabbi Blumenkrantz, obviously he passed away almost 10 years ago, give or take. But you have to see if any rabbis checked it out. Now with Google, it's unbelievable. You could go and check and see if Soman has any articles on this or that. Sometimes they'll give a hashkacha to the company and they'll say, yes, we've checked this out and this is defined as stone. It's not defined as pottery. So yeah, it's a very good point, Elias. A very good point. So you have the oven that you koshered the countertop, you koshered the stove top. The sink is similar to the countertop. And the same thing, there's a leniency by the sink. Because if once again you had hot lasagna, make a direct hit in the sink. So now when you pour hot water, it's not the same level. It's not. So we're relying on the most of the use is not that way and this and that. And fine. So if you just put an insert into the sink, that would be even better certain ways, halachically. Okay. But many do kosher it. Just make sure you clean it out well. Don't use it for hot water 24 hours. It might be advisable 24 hours before you clean it to do what? Turn off the hot water underneath the sink. Because none of us are getting any younger. And even a youngster could forget and use hot water before koshering. All the more so we get used to it. So to avoid it, just turn the hot water off 24 hours before you're going to kosher. And then, I didn't use any hot water, so I didn't bring any hot chametz in, which could be a problem koshering when there's still fresh chametz that was absorbed in. So that's a good idea to do that. Once you do, you clean it out well, get all the cook and everything around, and then you go ahead and pour the hot water. And once again, pour the hot water on the dry surface. And then let's say you did the side, and that went to the middle. So the side's kosher, but the middle not. So dry the middle now, and then do more hot water on the middle. And just make sure that each time it's a direct hit to the dry surface. And you clean the spout. You clean, the faucet well. It's good to pour the hot water on there also. And everything else just to be clean to make sure that there's no gook or anything like that. And you have to see, is it realistic to clean the grate? Sometimes there's so much gook in there and it's a screen kind of material. It's hard to get it all out. It might be best just to put it away and then get a new one. A Pesach, when we have Pesach inserts that we just use that fit into the sink, those are a lot easier. We put the other ones away.
Rabbi Meyer, do we have the faucet in the kitchen sink? Do we have to cover it or just put hot water on it?
Yeah, just clean it well. You can put hot water on it in case any hot steam got over there. Just pour hot water on it well, and that's it.
Because we used to use cheesecloth to cover it, but I don't have to use cheesecloth to cover it, do I?
No.
Okay.
No, certainly not on the meat sink. Just joking.
I only have one sink anyway, so.
I was just joking about the name.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
okay, very good.
Another
Very
point
good.
might be, if you have cabinets over your counters or over your stoves, you have to remember to make sure you cover them because the steam or the food or whatever the tom is going onto the bottom of those cabinets. And then if you're cooking Pesach dick under there and they,
And that's interesting. So you have to check the distance. It's an interesting idea that you're mentioning. Check the distance. Could it really be that the steam gets up there? You have chametz steam, and then during the Pesach time, more steam comes up and drips down? Theoretically, it would probably have to be pretty close for that to happen, but something to keep in mind, for sure. Anyways, that's koshering the counters, the sink, the stove, and the oven. The fridge, I don't know if I call it koshering, you just call it cleaning. You just clean it. There's no hot absorption. Hey, Gabriel, how you doing?
Baruch Hashem, I'm doing good. Just a quick question about the water bars and those types of apparatuses. What do you have to do about cleaning those? Because you really can't take the machine apart.
Well, you see, you don't really need to. First of all, it depends how it's used. It depends how it's used. So if it's just cold, then just clean it. If it's hot as well, so you clean it off well, and then you just pour hot water over the spout area to make sure that it gets there in case. You may not even have to do that. A person says, listen, I only use it for cold, and there's no problem. I only use it for hot water, but I put hot water right into my empty cup. No problem. I only pour it into pure coffee. But now, so then no problem. You don't have to kasher, just clean it. But if you use it for the hot cup of soups, and for all these fancy coffees, maybe they have comments. I don't know what the coffees have these days. Or you had oatmeal. So then you have to pour hot water onto the spout to make sure that it cleans, kashers the spout. And then you just clean everything well, and then you're good to go.
When I had,
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
When I had one of those water fountain things, when they used to bring the big bottles, the 5 guy, right? So
Yes.
like a week or two before Pesach, they would bring new spouts. You would throw the old spout off and put the new spout on for Pesach.
Wow. Yes. Then if you do that, you don't even need to kasher anything.
Right.
Well, there are those that say you can't kasher rubber and plastic. So then that's one reason to be machmir. And so it's a nice idea, but it's not necessary because anything that you kasher, once you don't use it for 24 hours, which we always wait before 24 hours.
Right.
So once you wait 24 hours, anything that you're going to use is a drabanan, because after 24 hours, it's no longer the rice of biblical issues, drabanan. And most poskim say you could kasher plastic. So there's plenty of room to be maker, but they want to bring the new spouts. It's great. That's great. So regarding the fridge, it's just a question of physically cleaning the fridge. You need to line the fridge. You don't need to. Person wants to, then fine. But you don't need. You have to just physically clean it. If you know there's corners in there that you can't get to, and you know what your fridge looks like, and it's not easy to get in there, and you don't clean it too often, and it's sticky and gooey, so fine. Then maybe it is best to cover it. You know that you clean it well. And I remember my wife was having a conversation with someone. My wife, Baruch Hashem, keeps a very, very nice, clean house. So every week she's cleaning out that fridge. And the lady said, "Oh, that's interesting. You clean out every week. I clean out once a year." I hope she was joking. Okay. But so you have to know if you could clean your fridge out well and there's no gook and you get into nooks and crannies, and fine. If you think they can't get in it so well, then you're gonna have food right in there, and the food can end up touching some gook that could be chametz, and you should be careful about that. Same thing with the closets. You don't need to line your closets. It's just practically, if you can clean it well, great. If you know there's some crevices, you might not get things there. So fine. It depends on the material. If you have a smooth kind of wood that you can easily clean, maybe not. So too with tables. Ninigas to cover the tables, and as well, you just don't know if you have any cook in there. Technically, you have to. I don't know if you have to, but the minhag is usually to do that. Okay, so that is the kitchen. Any questions about our beautiful kitchens?
Someone had a question about a plastic faucet in the sink.
Yes. So as we said, the plastic. I'm comfortable with koshering it. Many shitas say kosher it. The one who was big about not, you may have heard back, all of us who come from the States, of Moshe Feinstein. He was nervous. It wasn't a material that was around. Maybe it can't be koshered. Of course, the Gemara talks about metal and stone and wood. You could kosher. The Gemara says kli cheres, pottery can't. Where does plastic fit in? So you can argue, but many posts can be lenient. So a plastic faucet, you just clean it well and then put the hot water on, and then you're good to go. Okay. So moving along, if there's no more questions in the kitchen, so we spoke about Badika in the house, okay? So just remind everyone, Badika in the house means the following. It means that on Pesach night, this Thursday night, and a week from tomorrow night, you go to the house, and if it was you and a wife or kids that were really cleaning the last few days or week or whatever it is, So you could do a 10-hour bedika, and I'm not saying it's a crazy chumrah to do bedika as if you didn't do any cleaning beforehand, because you have to check every area. That's what you need to do on Pesach night, bedika night. That's not a crazy chumrah. It's not. It's not always bittul Torah. It's not bittul Torah. You're doing the bedika in the ideal way, but a person goes ahead and just goes to each room. Okay, that closet up, that closet was off, that closet. We cleaned the whole thing out. There was nothing there. We brought it down to 0. Okay, good. We took care of that. Okay, the bedroom. Yeah, that. Oh, you checked it. You cleaned out the whole bedroom. And it's like a checklist. So then it could go from 10 hours to a half hour, 45 minutes. And after your car, go down your car, make sure you do that, machsan, and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay. So that is the bedika. That is the kitchen. Okay, and moving along in the list of questions, the way I wrote them down. Okay, kitnio. So kitnio is someone asked about the laws of kitnio and the minhag of adding to the Torah. So it's obviously a fantastic question. Anytime you have a rabbanon prohibition or minhag, how does that work? So the rabbanon certainly were given the right to go ahead and protect the Torah. And Klal Yisrael was given the right to make chumras, to add chumras. There's a name of a parak that the Daf Yomi people did just a few weeks ago. What's the name of the parak? That we could create our own chumras. What's the name of the parak? Told the Daf Yomi people. Makom Shenagu. Makom Shenagu talks about minhagim, right? Talks about minhagim. And we could create our own chumras. In terms of tznius, in terms of waiting 6 hours, Ashkenazi tradition wait 6 hours, and the chumrah could be created in several ways. It could be created because we embraced a more stringent opinion, and we took the more stringent opinion, or it could be that no, there was no stringent opinion. We took it upon ourselves. So a woman could take it upon themselves in B'nai Brak to cover the bottom parts of their legs, because there's some sheets say it has to be covered as well with tights. Others not. So they embrace that more stringent opinion. If you live in that town, that's how you should dress. Okay? So, yeah, so minhag is very, very important. It's really protected on Masorah, kept on Masorah going. And there's an amazing line. Solomon Schechter, I don't know if you heard of him in the States. He was well known. I don't know if people outside the States heard of him. But Solomon Schechter lived in the early 1900s. He was a learned fellow. He was the world leader and scholar in the Cairo Geniza. He really went to the Cairo Geniza and studied it for years. And he would speak at Young Israel events in the early 1900s. He was not like clearly broken from the tradition, but then he had this concept of minhag America. Minhag America said, let's see what the people do. And in America, they don't have mechitzas in the shul. So that's minhag America. And slowly things fell apart. I have no doubt if Solomon Schechter was here today and he saw what happened to the conservative movement, despite their big victory in the Supreme Court 2 weeks ago, he would be very depressed. But minhagim are important. What was the mistake that he made when he said minhag America? The mistake he made was a minhag is good when it's based halachically, which either it's embracing an opinion or it's adding on a stringency that they took upon themselves. But if a minhag is to go ahead and discard halacha, that's not a minhag, it's a minhag shtus. It's a mistake. So he made a big mistake, a tragic one because, you know, look at the intermarriage in that world. It's very depressing. There's no glee like, you see the Orthodox system, we made it, and we're multiplying here and in Chutz La'aretz. Conservative reform are just dwindling. It's depressing. There's nothing happy about that. It's very depressing. So anyways, minhag is important. So if the kidneyot were getting mixed up with the grains and the minhag developed to be stringent, then we're stringent. And that's what keeps the Torah going. Today maybe we can manufacture and be more careful. Maybe not. And the bottom line is we keep the minhagim. The Sanhedrin will have the Sanhedrin one day. And tomorrow morning I'm zochet to go up to the Rabbi, to my monthly visit, and there's going to be 3 Sanhedrins there. I go right there and I see where all 3 are going to be. one by the women's section, one by the Evzat Yisrael section, and then one by the further in west and north by the Ezra Kohanim section. And then they'll go ahead and they'll decide if maybe certain chumras could be undone or not, maybe. And even that's not simple. They're going to undo any of those gezeros. It's a whole machlokas what they can undo. But that's what's preserved Judaism, Orthodox Judaism till this day. And those that tampered with different hagim, unfortunately, you see them just hemorrhaging, tragedy. So that's kinyot, and we keep it. There is a famous rabbi here in Israel that says kinyot doesn't apply. Anyone know what his name is? From Machon Shiloh. Rav David Bar Chaim, and he says, no, we should all be Sephardi and follow their tradition and not, and you can eat kinyot, you can have all the oils and all the, seeds that you want and beans and rice, it's all fine. And what do I say to that? I say, if you're a Talmud of Rav David Bar Chaim, so fine, have your kinyot. He's a Talmud Chacham. But it's a big chiddush to say such things, not a mainstream opinion, but whoever's a Talmud of his follow, that's fine. But none of us here are Talmidim of his as far as I know, and therefore we keep the minig of kinyot as Ashkenazic Jews, okay? So it's an important point. It's a very important point, and just in general, okay, anyone's like wondering about, this minig and this chumrah doesn't apply, it doesn't even make sense. The most famous example I always give is you have a headache on Shabbos. You have a headache on Shabbos, you're not supposed to take an Advil. You have a small headache. If it's like really harsh, you just want to lie down, then take your Advil. That's fine. But a small little headache, nothing bad. So no, there's a gzeira, you're going to go into your yard and you're going to take one of your herbs in your yard, and you're going to grind it up and make your medicine. And that's tochein daraisa grinding. I don't have a yard. Even if I had a yard, I wouldn't know what to do. The only thing I need to do when I get a headache is just reach for my pantry and get my Advil and acamole. And come on, it makes no sense. There's no chance I am going. You're going to have chance. They'll have peace in the Mideast before I go reach to the cabinet and before I go to my yard and make and grind herbs. It's not happening. You're right. It's not going to happen. No chance at all. Gezerah is a gezerah. We keep the system going, and that's what's preserved Judaism. Okay. Besides Siyata D'Shmaya, of course. Okay. So that's kinyot. In terms of
Rabbi,
yes.
the Sephardim don't keep kinyot, and they haven't fallen apart.
That's one. That's because it's a system, Edie. As long as each
system, we wouldn't lose ourselves.
No. You have a halachic system operating with poskim guiding each one. They never went ahead. Sephardim never went ahead and says, you know what? We're going to abandon kinyot. No, they never abandoned kinyot. What did they do? They never took it on, but we did. So we here in Amat Beit Shemesh, the lady wants to go ahead and wear up to the knees, her skirt to the knees, and they have a flip-flop sandal, fine. And in Bnei Brak, they can't do that. They've taken upon themselves stringency, so now that's their system. So it's not that one system's better or worse, but you don't go ahead and just drop things. Because if you drop things, it's the end of the system. And that's it. So they never dropped anything. Now, there are times, Edie, that things were never fixed. So you have to look in each case to see, was this a fixed halacha? Because some things could change with the times, but that's only those things that weren't fixed halachas. What would be an example of something that the Shulchan Aruch spoke about, or that but we don't keep it because it was never fixed to begin with? So mechitzas were fixed. Salman Shechter made a fatal mistake there, tragic mistake. Shulchan Aruch talks about not drinking water that was left open all night. Why? Because snakes would come and drink and some funny kind of stuff from it, okay? But the Shulchan Aruch, when he brings it down in Yoredeya, he says on the spot that what? It all depends on what? Which town you live in. And if you're in a town where you don't have snakes crawling around, they never made such a gezerah. So you need to see case by case how it was set up. But it just has to be a system, and it cannot be a free fall. And that's what keeps Orthodox Judaism going. And yes, sometimes it's a chumrah, and there's no chance it's going to. It's a system. Okay, and that's what keeps things going. Okay, so that's kitniyot. There are different opinions.
Can I ask a question, even though it was not submitted before? Regarding
Yeah, how you
kitniyot.
doing, Larry?
Hi, a two-part question, really. You mentioned before that Rav Moshe Zatzal was not sure about plastic because plastic was not a material that existed at the time of the Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch. Neither
Yeah,
did
I mean,
quinoa. Neither did quinoa.
beautiful.
And
That's
yet
great.
quinoa, when it was first discovered, so to speak, it was considered okay for Pesach. Then suddenly it became kitniyot. My question part one is why?
Great question.
Question two. Something like almonds, walnuts by themselves are not kitniyot. And yet, when you go to find kosher Pesach almonds, you have to specifically say without kitniyot. Why?
Very good question. So that's a great one with Rav Moshe, because the same Rav Moshe that mentioned that he wasn't comfortable about koshering rubber and stuff like that, the same Rav Moshe permits what? Peanuts. And Stanley just showed me the other day that the Johannesburg Basin, a very reputable basin, permits peanuts and peanut butter. Is that correct? Till this day, wasn't an old thing you showed me.
Pesach, they use peanut oil.
What do you say?
Growing up during Pesach, everyone had used peanut oil.
Exactly, and that was Rav Moshe. So the same Rav Moshe that says that we didn't have peanuts in the original Gezerah, in the original Sakana 700-800 years ago, it was discovered later, so it wasn't part of the original. The same Rav Moshe was so lenient, all of a sudden is nervous about the koshering. So it's a very good point. It's a good contrast, but they're two separate sugyas. Rav Moshe, when it comes to koshering materials, I don't have a Masorah on koshering this material. So it's not like, since it's a new material, it must be kosherable. No, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. So he's leaning towards chumras. But over here, there was a minute to answer these specific legumes and stuff. And that's how Rav Moshe learns it. And once that legume and that bean or whatever it was wasn't around, quinoa, then that's it. Or do you say, no, it fits into the category? That's the tension that exists by quinoa and by peanuts and stuff like that. And they're both opinions. Whatever you've done till now, you keep it going. I don't tell a person to do this way or that way. It's whatever they do, and they can keep going and doing it. And that's fine. And that's fine. So that's why the Rav Moshe at first glance seems like, whoa, he's saying opposite. No, he's not, because his mom is two separate sugyas, two separate topics. And then the second question was regarding almonds. In theory, if you know they're packaged 100% almonds and nothing else, it's not mixed with another run, where you have a peanut run and then an almond run. Well, not peanut, that's a bad example. A bean run and then an almond run, and you know the whole place is manufacturing processing only almonds, then you're good to go. It's a lot of this is dependent really on the metzias. Just like this leads into another question: the frozen foods, fruits, and cans. All of these things, the rabbi can't answer this by himself, even if he knows Hilchos Pesach backwards and forwards. He can't answer the question because he needs to know what. The manufacturing, you wouldn't believe what goes on into cleaning vegetables. The different chemicals and some of them edible kitniyot that goes in, and other kinds of chemicals that go into the processing. So yes, exactly. So you just need to know the process of the vegetables, the frozen vegetables. So in theory, the frozen vegetables could be fine. In theory, the frozen fruits could be fine. In theory, Larry, the almonds could be fine. You just need to know the metzias. So that's why a lot of people just say, you know what, just get kosher Pesach. Not because you technically need it. It's just, you're going to have to start researching that specific plant, how that, business, how that factory was run. And do they have different runs? Will they go from this run, from the chametz food, or to this bean? So people just say, you know what, forget about it. As opposed to, I was saying the other day in Shir about, some of the kasher organizations that give, kasher symbols on Tide, detergent all year long. Like, what's that? What is that about? I don't know. It doesn't sound like the right thing to me. Only give hashgacha on things that really need it, not because the company says, "Hey, we want to have hashgacha because we're going to sell better." That just makes the customers confused. Oh, I guess you need to have, symbol on Tide detergent. So, but here it's not just a crazy chumrah. It's just we don't know what's going on. You go ahead and Google the processing of frozen vegetables, and it's wild the different kinds of what's it called, chemicals and stuff like that. You go to the Rav Moshe Heineman is one of the leading poskim in the States. Rav Heineman is from which kashrus organization? Stark. Massive Talmud Chacham. He's a very big Talmud Chacham. And you look at the Star K, just Google processing frozen vegetables, and he'll give you the different possibilities of what can happen. So, and he's honest. You want someone who's a Chacham and has done the research in the field, and that's from Heineman. And OU also, of course, from Herschel Schefter has the OU. I don't think Rav Herschel did the same research directly. It's all the people under Rav Schefter because he's the Rosh Yeshiva of OU. Rav Heineman, he's kashrus. So it's just a question of getting the Matzia. So Larry, in theory, the almonds are fine. You just need to know, is it a clean run of just almonds? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so moving along. So that's with raw. So people ask about the raw, the frozen stuff, the fish and all that stuff. You just need to know how it's done. In theory, the fish doesn't necessarily need hashgacha. You just want to know what's going on in the store and stuff like that, how it was processed. Eggs. So the eggs are fine. The eggs are fine that we get there. For years, the ink, believe it or not, was made from chametz. But if I'm not mistaken, they've gotten much better with it, and they just made a different compound this year. And it's no longer the KP it says on it, it's just not a compound of chametz anymore, so you just don't need to worry. But that was a concern that existed over the years with the eggs. Okay. What? Yeah, but you boil it in the water. People are nervous. Once chametz isn't batel, so you're nervous, gets in the water. They were concerned, but dots, they worked it out with Tenuva. And, Tenuva pretty much took 20 years ago, Tenuva got into the egg business, if I'm not mistaken. And next time you drive on 38, it's a beautiful ride to see the beautiful highway leading to Highway 1, and then new roads leading to Shalayim, building mountains through Har Nof. It's gorgeous. It's getting ready for Aliyah Regel, where all roads lead to Jerusalem. It's just actually breathtaking. One depressing part of the trip, when you go on 38, you look at the moshavs along the way, and you'll see all the old rundown chicken coops over there, all along the moshavs. Every moshav just broken down. The only moshav that still function is the kibbutz Tzora in our neighborhood, but all the other ones, they didn't make it. Once Tenuva took over, all the small mom and papa shops just couldn't make it anymore. So Tenuva is a multi-billion shekel company, so they worked out that even the stamps are fine. And people were being machmir and avoiding those eggs and getting other eggs when they got themselves into health issues, because some of the eggs are imported from PA areas, the Palestinian areas, and they were not healthy and they were mamish dangerous. So it's people should be careful and make sure to avoid that. Okay, so let's see. Going down the list, we're in the cleaning versus koshering, the frozen stuff, eggs, the Shabbos we went through, kidney we spoke about, burning on Friday and still eating on Shabbos, koshering the plastic, koshering the whole kitchen, the hot water. So,
Rabbi, what about the kalim mikvah? Now, all year long, you use the kalim mikvah with your regular pots and things, and then on Pesach, you buy new pots, and you can put them in the kalim mikvah too.
That's a good question. Very good question. So, I'll tell you a cute story about the kalim mikvah next door to Eish Kodesh. Because you always want, for Harabayas people, you need to go to a proper mikvah. So every woman's mikvah, of course, is a proper mikvah. Men's mikvah, they don't make sure that it's a proper d'oraisa mikvah. So it's always tricky because when you ask the rabbi who's in charge of the mikvah, is a kosher mikvah, like, why are you asking? You're asking about Harabayas, so he might it's like an unpleasant conversation. So, but if the mikveh is a kosher mikveh that you could bring a kli in, see, you ask the rabbis in charge of the mikveh, if it's a delicate topic, you just don't, he might avoid you if you study about harbayis, and you say, listen, there's a really big pot. Could I bring it not into the kelim mikveh, it doesn't fit. Can I bring it into the mikveh itself with me, assuming the owner of the mikveh is fine? And if he says yes, that means it's a kosher, fully doraisa kosher mikveh. So that's just an interesting point about mikvahs and the status. But now we're talking about the kelim mikveh. So you bring the kelim mikveh, and then you bring it on Pesach. It's a nice point, Edie. The simple pshat is that what? Hopefully all the kelim that people bring are what? Are clean and new. So you're not worried about any chametz that got in. And when we say that chametz, even a drop, isn't batel, when we say that, that means that it falls, a piece of bread falls into a massive cholent, you have a problem. But the worst scenario would be that there was some piece of chametz on this kli, and it got into the water, and it's somehow sitting on the bottom of the water, and therefore what? When I don't my Pesach, what happened? It touched it, it's on the bottom there. And the chance that it's on the bottom is minuscule. So we're not mach, because it's just not a real, a realistic possibility we need to take into account. You know what I mean?
I think most of everything we do is because of that minuscule amount that might be there.
No, but it has to be a realistic possibility. It has to be a realistic possibility.
Well,
So, and you clean the kitchen and the fridge, that's a realistic possibility. I've been to mikvahs for hundreds of times, and never saw any piece of chametz in the mikvah. So it's not like it's possible. It has to be something that could really happen. It's just not, anyone here ever.
If someone brings their pots over to the mikvah, and they bring it in a plastic bag that had bread in it, and then they dunk it, there could be a crumb that stuck to the bottom of the pot.
Correct.
And then that's sitting in the mikvah.
Correct. But it doesn't, halachically, you're right. So it's a possible scenario, but it's not hot. It's just sitting on the bottom. It doesn't do anything to the rest of the mikvah. And it's far-fetched. If anyone ever looks in the mikvah, just nothing going on there. You don't see such a thing. So, and even if there was there, it doesn't really affect the kli. So we're good with that.
This is the time to speak about just the general water system, where people have been pouring comets down the ground.
Ah, very good, Stan. Yes, you have the post can discuss. Someone's in the Kinneret and they have chametz in the Kinneret. It's all connected, the water pipe all the way to here. So once again, it's not that chametz there makes this whole 100-kilometer stream usher. It's that if I'm right at the Kinneret and I have that bottle of water that I'm going to drink, that might have a drop. Oh, now I have a problem. But when there's no realistic possibility of that coming over to me, the filtering system, we're not. There was a rabbi in Far Rockaway, Edie, that did that 30 years ago, 40 years ago. One of the rabbis where that's it. He had bottled water all of Pesach, and that was before bottled water became famous. Now everyone walks around with bottles and bottles and bottles. That's, considered to be needed for health, which I'm happy people are drinking water and not Coca-Cola. That's much better. Based on my Science Times, and thanks Larry for always supplying me, the Science Times is not as convinced that the rest of the world is that you need to be drinking as much water as people drink, but that's fine. That should be the biggest health issue people have, that they overdrink water, Baruch Hashem. But he went ahead, before bottled water was big 40 years ago, he would have bottled water, save up, and not have any water because he was afraid that somewhere in the system in New York, but it was a very, very big, and no one else had that chumrah. That was his chumrah. He was a Hasidic Rav, and he was very machmir Pesach, which is fine. Oh, really? I don't know. Wow, it could be. Very possible. It could be. It could be.
Stan, what did he say?
Stan just said that he thought Beit Shemesh, the water company here in Beit Shemesh, they had something a few years ago, but I'm not sure about with chametz. Wow, that they somehow separated out. I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out. Okay. So then let's see, kashering ovens. And let's see. Someone asked about keeping chametz in like in a bedroom, which is hardly used, and then people will go in and out to take things out. Not great. Why is it not great to put chametz in a place where you may end up going in there during Pesach? Why is it not great?
You might take it by mistake.
You might take it by mistake, but let's say you put signs on it not to touch it. So, but what you're doing is in that area, if you sold that room, now, did you do complete badika on that room? No. Oh, I sold the room. So you're sort of making a bit of a joke by selling the room, and then a couple of times during Pesach, what are you doing?
Oh, here I can't.
You're going into the room to use it to get to things. It really should be, we should make the sale more serious. And I was talking with my good buddy today, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, my dear friend, and we feel bad because, you know, we always did the Rabbanut stars with Rabbi Biton, who was the official, unofficial rabbi, a nice Moroccan rabbi, it must be in his late 80s. And then we would collect money, give it to him to give out to his local Beit Shemesh people. We were just struggling this year about, you know, going to him, and because Rav Shenkelovsky, the stars that I have here in the shul that we're going to be doing next week, and those who do need to electronic, you know, that's with Rav Shenkelovsky from Beit Shemesh. You may have heard of him. He's from, what's it called in Beit Shemesh? One of the early sections where the Olim came 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Nofei Aviv. You heard of Nofei Aviv? Anyway, so Rav Shenkelovsky's the Rav there, and he's, you know, in our Datilimi group, he's a heavy hitter in our group. He's considered like one of our leaders. You know, we used to have Rav Spector's at Sal. He was our leader, but whatever. He passed away. That was a tragedy. So Rav Shenkelovsky sort of stepped up to the plate in many ways. And one thing that me and Rav Chaim was saying, that Rav Shenkelovsky's star is not just signing and write your name and address. Each one, I copied in my home list, I had about 30, and I'll copy more as we need, that each person going to sign his own paper, which lists what?
Every place is
The chametz, the value, and where your key is. It's just more specified, and it's better. Rabbi Tone's wasn't good. Chas v'shalom. He's a big Talmud of Rabbi Tone. It was fine, but the more real it is, the more specific it is, the better. And each person writing his own thing, that's better. And specifying. Each one has their own page. I only print out about 30 or so, whatever, but we'll print more as we need. Okay, so here too, you're selling your room, but I'm going into my room. So you really should go ahead, you close up your room, that's where your chametz is, sold, don't go in. Emergency happens, and okay, so basically what you're saying is maybe the rabbi might write in the shtar that he sells to the guy that in emergency, I'm allowed to go into the guy's room to get stuff, but it's best to be avoided to make the sale more of a real sale. Technically you signed it and it's a sale, it's true, but it should be more halak. So therefore I would advise not setting it up that way, that I'm going to put stuff in my chametz room, I'm going to go in and out during the week. It should not be that way. Okay. Now,
I was brought up to understand that if you sell a room, then it's no longer yours to go into.
Exactly.
It doesn't belong to you. You have no right to go. You're trespassing.
Exactly right. So therefore, you should not go in. You should sell it. If you didn't do Badika, you shouldn't get the best of both worlds. I got out of Badika, and then I'm going to still use it. I'm just trying to justify those who do. Some poskim in the contract right that it's the guys, but the Jew has a right to get something in emergency if he needs it, to try to somehow balance it, as opposed to a rental where it's yours and the owner can't just walk into the rental. He needs to get permission. Let's say the rental is up and he's selling it in a few weeks. He needs to coordinate with the renter when he could show people it. So no, they built in the contract, but I agree with you. It's not ideal, and therefore it should not be relied on at lachatchila to set it up that way. Okay.
Well, what if you're using a closet in the room, but you still didn't sell the room? You checked the room.
So if you just sell, good, like the kids' room we talked about before, the toys, Edie. So just there, you're just selling the closet. Right. You do badik in the room. I'm talking about a case where you don't do badik in the room because you're off the hook. So that you should have it both ways. That you sell the room, but you're still going to go in. Do you hear what I'm saying? A few people asked about microwaves. So microwaves are really cool in every sense of the word. I remember 40 years ago when they came out, it was already in the 70s and the first came out, give or take, when they started selling it. The late 70s, early 80s, it started making its waves, right? And it's phenomenal halachically because in certain ways, it's really no problem. You could argue that it just wipe it down because it's totally unique. There's no heat on the walls. It just zaps the food, hopefully in a healthy way. Who knows what's going on with the ways, but let's hope that it's all fine and safe. It's been around for half a century, so that's Hashem, and it's just heating the food up. So it didn't even get into the wall. So there are those that want to say that, guess what? Don't just clean it out and use it. Meat, dairy, everything. Pesach. There are those that say that, wait a second, you have to go and check out your microwave. Put it on, put something hot in there for a few minutes, let it get steamy hot, open up and quickly feel the wall. And if it's Yatza Leatherspoon, can you keep your hand on it? And if you can, then you're right, the walls never get hot. Then just clean it up. Others say that that's fine, but if the walls get hot, then you have two options. One option is to some sheets say, and then you can kasher it. Another sheets say, just close it up for Pesach. So those who want to go ahead and kasher Pesach, I'm comfortable because many poskim are fine with it. And once you clean it out well, and you wait 24 hours, we are talking now, there's an argument in the poskim whether you can kasher it or not. We're talking about what kind of argument? Safek what? Drabanan. Yes, it's a doubt on a rabbinic issue. But we're so crazy about Pesach. We are crazy when it comes to Pesach, but it's not like there's no rules. It's not a free-for-all. Any way that you can be stringent, just be stringent. It's not true. There's rules and there's guidelines, and many of them are strict. But over here, many maintain that just like you steamed up the walls, and that's what made them chametzdik. So if they do need to be kasher, assuming hot chametz steam got in, assuming that, so you wait 24 hours, it's a suffix if it even needs cleaning. And then you put that hot water in the bowl, like the poskim already spoke about decades ago, let it steam there for a few good minutes. And if the chametz got in there, it got out. But it's plastic. Yeah, so we're relying on those shitas that say that you could get out the plastic. The only thing is the plate on the bottom where things hot meat or hot chametz, I should say, spilled onto it. So that already might be more challenging. So you could go ahead and maybe just cover that with a few layers of plastic, not tinfoil, unless you want to have some excitement in your microwave. Then you can put tinfoil and you get a whole show go on in your microwave. But I don't advise that. So it's not good for it. But it is cool if you ever leave metal in it, just watch. It's like a whole lightning show. But separate discussion. So you wrap it with plastic, or you just take a little styrofoam thing, a styrofoam material, and just put that in for Pesach. So clean everything out well, get rid of whatever the plate is underneath, and then just go ahead and put a styrofoam thing for the week, and that's fine. So you can do that. I'm comfortable doing it. I don't know if my wife's ready for that. I don't know if she's been ready to kasher, but I'm fine if you do that. So that's the microwave halacha. Okay.
Rabbi.
Yes.
With the microwave, that only is a normal microwave because you can get them where you've got the hot element above, which is a multi-cooker.
Very good point. If it's an oven where you have a full oven, then you're right. Then if you've used it as an oven, you have to kasher as an oven. Very good point. Thanks for mentioning that, Colin. For sure. That if you have a proper oven microwave, then that's going to have to be kasher like an oven. And, that's a whole nother world. Totally right. Totally right. Exactly. That's a good point. Good point. Okay. Let's see. Selling chametz, which is practically right. I said that we're going to be selling all next week, and I'm going to send out the electric ones as well. Ideally, anyone who could make it, that would be the best. If you can't make it one of those nights, call me. I can maybe drop it off. You remember when we were kids 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, doctors made house calls, right? Remember those good old days? So this rabbi makes house calls. So I could just go ahead and bring it over. And it's best to do it while. Not that the electronic way doesn't work. We did it last year during Corona. But now that we all have the chisunim and we can meet, even if you're extra careful, you don't go out. If you're comfortable with me coming over, we can just do it that way. I'll bring the star. Doesn't cost anything. As I said, you want to give something to the Manachai. That's all nice and good. Mentioning the Manachai, Rabbi Leventhal is, of course, the head of the Manachai. It was started years ago by David Morris, and he has tremendous zechuyos there. And Hirsch actually wasn't feeling well, so he checked into the hospital. So Shadavin, his name is on the right. We have it on the yeah, it's on the thing. So you should just what's it called? Davin Fin Hirsch Tzvi Alevi. And Rachel Razel, and he's checking on and the wonderful Vicky Lisi Shabbos newsletter. She works so hard to put it out every week, and big yashkor to Vicky. So definitely continue to daven for Hirsch. Okay.
Rabbi Myers?
Yes.
Rabbi Myers, can we keep bread and chametz in the freezer and sell it?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Does anyone remember? I don't know if anyone heard of his name anymore. Emmanuel Rackman. Does that mean anything to anyone?
Yes, from New York. From New York.
New York. So he was in the Five Towns Shari Tefillah 100 years ago. He was in Manhattan. Then he made Aliyah 30 years ago, and he was the chancellor of Bar Ilan University. He passed away maybe 10 years ago. He was buried right at Eretz Chaim. I was at his funeral. And he told people in Shari Tefillah in Far Rockaway 100 years ago, in the 60s, to buy chametz, buy loaf of bread or two before Pesach, put it in your freezer, and then sell it. Because when you buy chametz after Pesach, you don't know Julia Wallbaums and this company, that company, maybe they were what? Jewish. And maybe it was owned by Jews. Now everything's organized and every makolet has signs that they sold their chametz. But what? Julia Wall? What? Yes. So I remember some rabbis like, what? That's crazy. You're trying to avoid chametz that was owned by Jew in Pesach, Julia Wallans, whoever it may have been. I don't know if she was even Jewish or not. And then you're going to buy chametz before Pesach? That's crazy. So Rabbi Rackman said that, wait a second, if you sell real chametz, then you rely on the sale. If you rely on the sale, then this is a good patent. So you have those who sell all of their chametz, hard chametz noodles as well, and those who don't. And like whatever you've been doing till now, that's fine. I personally throw out the pretzels and the noodles. It's a few shekels. It's not like we have a lot of stock in that stuff. But those who want to sell everything, and that's what they do every year, fine. Someone just called me today. They have like 150 shekels of lasagna noodles and these noodles and that noodles and other stuff. And a person who doesn't have money, so fine, sell it. It's a legitimate sale. And you'll say, wait a second. So first of all, why differentiate between ketchup, which has some vinegar, grain vinegar, whatever it is, and this? I mean, chametz is chametz. No. The issa d'oraisa of owning chametz is when it's pure chametz. That's issa d'oraisa. And the other one's often is a tarovis. It might be drabanan. So we're lenient when you're selling a mixture as opposed to hard chametz, bread, noodles. That's real d'oraisa chametz to own. You say, wait a second, so we're playing around with the d'oraisa ownership here. And if it's a good sale, good. If it's not a good sale, you're playing around with fire? No. Because on Shabbos, what are we going to say Shabbos morning? What are we going to say? Kol chamira. And you mean it. And you say, nah, you didn't really mean it was a joke. Not true. If someone says you should just know, Danny Myers, 10:30, when you're saying all the chametz is null and void, you should just know, I'm telling you last minute, that halachically that sale was worthless. It's not a good sale. So you say, fine, everything is batal. I really mean it. And if anyone would take any of my noodles in Pesach, if the sale didn't work and it doesn't belong to Ahmed, then fine. So you've taken care of the doraisas. You're getting yourself more into drabanan shaila, and fine. So those who want to sell it, I don't have like any real chametz around. We have a few shekels. So Cheerios, Shlomo Myers, it's a fascinating thing. Downs kids love carbs and Coke. It's a fascinating study. I'm waiting for Larry to bring me over Science Times one week, which is going to talk about that. I'm looking forward to the day when they analyze that. So he goes to a box of Cheerios a day. So what do we have? We have a Cheerios, a few shekels left. So we can dump it. But it's not like, oh, yeah, I would never sell it. If I ended up with 10 boxes, maybe I would. I don't know. It just never happens. Okay, so those who never sell this stuff and get rid of it, then continue to get rid of it. And those who've sold it till now, you can sell it.
I've never, Rabbi Myers, I have to ask this question because in America, I always threw out, but I heard that you could keep bread and like flour. That's why I'm asking. I don't want to do anything that's not right because in the past, I've never kept real chametz. I've never kept real bread.
So if you haven't kept real chametz in the past, then you should continue that unless there's been a big change in your finances or something like that. But otherwise, you should just keep the minhag that what you did. Flour is another story because some say flour really may not be chametz at all. So you could sell that. So flour is a different category than bread.
Okay, but what if it was an open package of flour? You have 90% of it. 90% of the flour. That is okay to sell?
Yeah, you can sell it. You can sell it because who says anything happened to it? You poured it out. You're not eating it. You're just selling it. So
could you keep that in the freezer? Because someone said if you keep any chametz in the freezer, then you shouldn't be going into the freezer.
So you have to section off that area of the freezer well. And it has to be marked off well. For sure.
Okay, so flour is okay. Flour is okay.
Yeah. I'm not. There are going to be those that will sell flour that will not sell flour, but there's room, to be lenient on that one. You can go both ways.
But how much?
What?
How much you should really sell? Because I know some
I didn't say that. I personally get rid of the real chametz, but a person sells it, that's fine. We have all these stars here. Someone's going to fill it out and write my Berman's. You got to pay for it, Rabbi. So, we'll talk business. So no, it's next Sunday. We're doing it every night and morning next week. So unless you're going away before.
Hi.
So anyway, so that's more. We have Mariv now. That's more or less. I think we pretty much just about covered it. I think one or two things. It was a zroa liqueurs. People ask about liqueurs. Liqueurs as opposed to liquor. So you have to see how the liqueurs are made. I mean, normally, as I said, these days you have to assume it's best to have hashgacha unless you know the industry so well that there's no chance that there was chametz in the processing at all, which is not so easy to determine. So if you have a liqueur and you're not sure about it, it's best just to sell it because unless that's kosher best, you just don't know in the processing. You look on some of the fancy godiva, whatever those liqueurs are, it says not kosher for Pesach. So you have to just know case by case. Normally with manufacturing so confusing now, it's best to be stringent in my opinion. Just about covers everything. And as I said,
Rabbi?
Yes.
Right. It doesn't affect us because we don't have one, but what's the halacha regarding dishwashers?
Dishwashers, some say you could kasher it, but it really means getting into every nook and cranny literally. And is that realistic? Put it this way, if someone really has a question, we could talk about it. Maybe I'll even come over. We have to look at it to really assume you could get it super clean. It's not impossible, but it's not simple. It's not simple. It's possible, I believe, but it's not simple because there's just so many areas that the chametz could get to. Yeah, but most materials you could kasher, but it's not simple practically to do it. So if anyone has a real shayla, we could talk the next few days about it. If there's more questions, send them in, and we could talk. We could maybe have another gathering. Anyways, Edie, this is great. It's so much fun to get together with everyone and to learn and to see everyone. And we should, what's it called? Do it again. Okay, we'll be in touch, Chai. If I don't speak to you, have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. Everyone should be well, and please feel free to ask, email, WhatsApp, call.
So Rabbi Myers, you would come down to Dolev with a paper and I could sign it into my apartment?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care in Beit Shemesh and Scarsdale.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take
And
care. Be
Sfat.
well, everyone. And Spot. Take care, everybody.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Edie. Shkayach, Edie.
Thank you.
Thanks,
It was
Rabbi.
great. Thank you, Edie.
My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Edie.
Shkayach,
Thank
everyone.
you, Rabbi.